All right, so we're on floor, and you can see we have 4 wedges put out. And so you can probably guess, if you watched the video about bars, where this conversation is going. But let's just kind of talk it out again. We have dots on the floor. Here we have 8 dots arranged in 2 rows, essentially, or 4 rows, depending on how you're looking at it. And then we have our 4 wedges. So again, going through the framework of how we're going to start the conversation. There's 8 of you, there's 4 wedges. What does that mean? Now, if there was only, let's say, 6, then we would just remove one of the wedges. We wouldn't use it. So now it would be, there's 6 of you, there's 3 wedges. But in this scenario, we'll go, there's 8 of you, there's 4 wedges. What does that mean? That means that there's 2 people per wedge. Correct. You're sharing a wedge. Okay, so we talked about the space. But now we got to talk about the flow. Now the flow is, they're going to stay at the same wedge. So you're going to be sharing a wedge, and you're going to be staying at the same wedge. However, we have a problem. The problem in the flow, and this is what we have to describe and discuss, is as they finish whatever they're doing, and we're not going to tell them what they're doing yet. So as you finish whatever it is you're doing, they're going to probably want to know, what am I doing? I can't tell you yet. As you finish whatever you're doing, you're going to have to walk back around to the beginning. Spacing things out depending on how kids are going to crash into each other. You might need to add some more spacing so that there's a more safe walking path, because I noticed that some instructors who are newer don't think about the return path, but you sometimes just need to space things out a little bit better so that no one's going to crash into each other. So there's 8 of you, there's 4 wedges. We're going to be sharing a wedge with a partner. We're going to be doing something on the wedge, and when we finish what we're doing on the wedge, we need to walk back around and get back in line. Okay, now we've talked about the flow. But what are we doing? Glad you asked. Now we're having a sense of surprise. We're doing forward rolls down the wedge. Oh, that's so easy. Great, I'm glad it's easy. Forward rolls down the wedge. Does everybody know what a forward roll is? If somebody doesn't raise their hand or is slow to raise their hand, maybe they're hesitant, maybe they don't really know, maybe they don't feel comfortable. You want to make sure everyone knows what they're doing, and don't trust anything a child says, because they need to prove it to you. So what you do is you say, okay, does anyone know what we're doing? Everyone goes, yes, I know what a forward roll is. Fantastic. Perfect opportunity to test. Find a student. Jimmy, come over here. Show me what a forward roll looks like down a wedge. Get ready to spot them, carry them through the process, make sure they are safe, make sure everyone saw, and applaud Jimmy, awesome job, love the forward roll, or you needed to help him, and now you understand that there's going to be help needed in this class, and he goes back on along his way. Now we've talked about the skill or the movement that we're working on, but we haven't talked about the effort. The effort we're aiming for on our forward rolls is to have straight elbows the entire time. They're not allowed to bend. You're going to have your fingers facing each other, and we're going to have straight elbows, never letting our elbows bend. So we're talking now about what we're going to be doing with effort. Okay? So our effort is, we're going to be focused really hard on trying to have a detail and a quality specific movement. So now we're going rolling, straight elbows, but I got to measure it somehow. How do I know when my straight elbows happen? How do I know I'm success or not? How do I know why it matters? What drives the care, essentially, to having straight elbows? Because I need to see 8 rolls with straight elbows to earn 10 points. And now the students are going, okay, if I can get everybody on board, if all of us can roll with straight elbows, we'll get 10 points. I want to put a little mix in there. If only half of you contribute to that number, then we only get 5 points. If only one person or 2 people or just a few people contribute to that number, we only get 1 point. Now you have a reason for everyone to participate. Maybe only 7 out of the 8 students get straight arms. So you're like, we're at 5 points right now, but if we can get, Sarah to do it with straight elbows, then we're going to be at 10 points. And now there's a reason to participate. So now we've talked about what we're measuring, okay? And what we're measuring is the success of the elbows, adding the measurement to being, you get this thing, this point. And so that's how you're measuring the system. We know that as we earn points, we are now moving further along in success. And then we have the pacing. What is the pacing? The pacing might be, okay, everyone's going to go at the same time, so the first 4 are going to step up, and you're going to go on my command, and I say, ready, go. Or the pacing could be, you have a minute to try. Or the pacing could be, you're just going to go, and we're just going to see how it goes. So you just say, all right, go when you're ready, make sure you have room. It's a little bit more loose. Depending on the behavior of the students determines how loose or tight you need to make the pacing. Do you need to make it all command driven where it's now on the instructor commanding it, or can you allow them to have some autonomy and make their decisions? That's going to be dependent on basically the energy level of the group and their ability to focus and pay attention. But this is just floor with wedges. What would happen, and this is stations by the way, what would happen if we didn't want to use wedges and we would just want to travel all the way down the floor? So we move The wedges, we'll just move this out of the way just for a visualization purpose. Okay. So what happens when now you're doing floor and you want to travel the distance of the floor? So now you have 8 students lined up on yellow dots and they're going to do skills going down the floor. Well, this format is what we would call lines. And so what we would have is 4 students lined up on the first row or in the first group, and then the next group of students behind. And they would be going on your command. So you've gone through the conversation, you've talked about the space, you're going to be moving down the floor to the other side, going to that dot that is straight in front of you. This is how, so we got the flow, we got the space. You're going to be waiting for your turns. These are the skills we're working on. Here's what we're looking for in our effort. Here's how we're going to measure it, by giving you points or letter grades, or maybe it's based off of time or something like that. And then this is what our pacing is. Now in lines format, the pacing is the crux of everything. You need to have your pacing dialed in. So with lines, because you're not going to be able to just jump in and interject with somebody moving down because you have to move through people, a lot of times the corrections happen after everyone's finished. And then they get to try again, and then the corrections happen after everyone's finished. So commanding and staying engaged is not just like, all right, go ahead and go, and there's this awkwardness of silence. This is where you now have to get into more of the conversation and driving more of the conversation in this format specifically, and you need to lend more on validation. But the pacing is first group ready, begin, or go. First group ready, go. Second group get ready, second group go. And so you're spacing your group. Don't just let them go on their own command. First group ready, go. Second group ready, go. As they're going, you're validating. You're saying, yes, love the straight arms. Oh, I like how the hips are moving. Yep, that looked fast. Okay, you're a little slow if you got a little quicker. And so you're validating through the process of their movement, and then it's the next group ready, next group go. You go down to the end of the floor, you give some corrections or explanations, maybe you pull out a demonstrator to show what you want to see because you saw somebody perform at a higher performance level, and you say, okay, I want to use this person as my demonstrator. They show, everyone can see what you're looking for. Throw that person back into the group and get started moving along with first group ready, second group ready, go, and you're cycling through the process. So this is what lines would look like on floor.